Chapter 2. On the Trail of the Earliest People. The earliest people, why were they on the move? We know about people who lived in the subcontinent as early as 2 million years ago. Today, we describe them as hunter gatherers. The name comes from the way in which they got their food. Generally, they hunted wild animals, caught fish and birds, gathered fruits, roots, nuts, seeds, leaves, stalks, and eggs. The immense variety of plants in a tropical land like ours meant that gathering plant produce was an extremely important means of obtaining food. None of these things was easy to do. There are several animals that run faster than us, many that are stronger. To hunt animals or catch fish and birds, people need to be alert, quick, and have lots of presence of mind. To collect plant produce, you need to find out which plants or parts of plants are edible. That is, can be eaten as many can be poisonous. You also need to find about the seasons when the fruits ripen. There are at least 4 reasons why hunter gatherers moved from place to place. First, if they had stayed at one place for a long time, they would have eaten up all the available plant and animal resources. Therefore, they would have had to go elsewhere in search of food. Second, animals move from place to place, either in search of smaller prey or, in the case of deer and wild cattle, in search of grass and leaves. That is why those who hunted them had to follow their movements. Third, plants and trees bear fruit in different seasons. So people may have moved from season to season in search of different kinds of plants. Fourth, people, plants, and animals need water to survive. Water is found in lakes, streams, and rivers. While many rivers and lakes are perennial with water throughout the year, others are seasonal. People living on their banks would have had to go in search of water during the dry seasons. Besides, people may have traveled to meet their friends and relatives. Remember, they traveled on foot. But how do we know about these people? Archaeologists have found some of the things hunter gatherers made and used. It is likely that people made and used tools of stone, wood, and bone, of which stone tools have survived best. Some of these stone tools were used to cut meat and bone, scrape bark from trees, and hides animal skins, chop fruit and roots. Some may have been attached to handles of bone or wood to make spears and arrows for hunting. Other tools were used to chop wood, which was used as firewood. Wood was also used to make huts and tools. Choosing a place to live in. All the places marked with red triangles are the sites from which archaeologists have found evidence of hunter gatherers. Hunter gatherers lived in many more places, only some are shown in the map. Let us see these maps. One, we have Bhimbetka site near the Narmada river. Then we have Hunsgi at the Krishna river and Kurnul caves. So these 3 sites have been shown here as Paleolithic sites. The sites from which archaeologists have found evidence of hunter gatherers. It is important to know that many sites were located near sources of water such as rivers and lakes. As stone tools were important, people tried to find places where good quality stone was easily available. Places where stone was found and where people made tools are known as factory sites. People where stone was found and where people made tools are known as factory sites. How do we know where these factories were? Usually we found blocks of stone tools that were made and perhaps discarded because they were not perfect, and chips of waste stone left behind at these sites. Sometimes people lived here for longer spells of time. These sites are called habitation cum factory sites. Bhimbetka. We have seen Bhimbetka as Paleolithic site. Some sites we have known that they are called habitation sites when people stay there for longer times. And these are the places where people lived. These include caves and rock shelters such as we found in Bhimbetka. People chose these natural caves because they provided shelter from the rain, heat and wind. Natural caves and rock shelters are found in the Vindhyas and the Deccan Plateau. These rock shelters are close to the Narmada Valley. Sites. What are sites? Sites are places where the remains of things, tools, pots, building, etc. were found. Sites are places where the remains of things are found. These were made, used, and left behind by people. This may be found on the surface of the earth, buried under the earth, or sometimes even underwater. You will learn more about different sites in later chapters. Making stone tools. Stone tools were probably made using two different techniques. The first is called stone on stone. Here, the pebble from which the tool was to be made, also called the core, was held in one hand. Another stone, which was used as a hammer, was held in other hand. The second stone was used to strike off flakes from the first, till the required shape was obtained. Second technique is called pressure flaking. Here the core was placed on a firm surface. The hammer stone was used on a piece of bone or stone that were placed on the core to remove flakes that could be shaped into tools. Finding about the fire. We saw the Kurnul caves. It was also a Paleolithic site, a site of hunter-gatherers. Traces of ash have been found here. This suggests that people were familiar with the use of fire. Fire could have been used for many things, as a source of light, to cook meat, and to scare away animals. A changing environment. Around 12,000 years ago, there were major changes in the climate of the world with a shift to relatively warm conditions. In many areas, this led to the development of grasslands. This in turn led to an increase in the number of deer, antelope, goats, sheep, and cattle, animals that survived on grass. Those who hunted these animals now followed them, learning about their food habits and their breeding seasons. It is likely that this helped people to start thinking about herding and rearing these animals themselves. Fishing also became important. This was also a time when several grain-bearing grasses, including wheat, barley, and rice, grew naturally in different parts of the subcontinent. Men, women, and children probably collected these grains as food and learned where they grew and when they ripened. This may have led them to think about growing plants on their own. Names and dates. Archaeologists have given lengthy names for the time that we are studying. They call the earliest period the Paleolithic. This comes from two Greek words, paleo meaning the old and lithos meaning stone. The name points to the importance of finds of stone tools. The Paleolithic period extends from 2 million years ago to about 12,000 years ago. A very important point. The Paleolithic period extends from 2 million years ago to about 12,000 years ago. This long stretch of time is divided into the lower, middle, and upper Paleolithic. This long span of time covers 99% of human history. The period when we find environmental changes beginning about 12,000 years ago till about 10,000 years ago, and this period is called Mesolithic, which means middle stone. Stone tools found during this period are generally tiny and are called microliths. Very important point. Stone tools found during the Mesolithic period are tiny and are called microliths. Microliths were probably stuck onto the handles of bones or wood to make tools such as saws and sickles. At the same time, older varieties of tools continued to be in use. The next stage from about 10,000 years ago is known as Neolithic. You will be learning about the Neolithic in chapter 3. Rock paintings and what they tell us. Many of the caves in which these early people lived have paintings on the walls. Some of the best examples are from Madhya Pradesh and southern Uttar Pradesh. These paintings show wild animals drawn with great accuracy and skill. Who did what? We have seen that the earliest people hunted, gathered plant produce, made stone tools, and painted on cave walls. Is there any way of finding out whether women hunted or men made stone tools? Whether women painted or men gathered fruits and nuts? At present, we do not really know. However, there are at least two possibilities. It is likely that both men and women may have done many of these things together. It is also possible that some tasks were done only by women and others only by men. And again, there could have been different practices in different parts of the subcontinent. Ostriches in India. Ostriches were found in India during the Paleolithic period. Very important point. Ostriches were found in India during the Paleolithic period. Large quantities of ostrich egg shells were found at Patna in Maharashtra. Designs were engraved on some pieces, while beads were also made out of them. A closer look, Hansgi. This site we saw on the map, it's a Paleolithic site and we found it near the Krishna River. A number of early Paleolithic sites were found here. At some sites, a large number of tools used for all sorts of activities were found. These were probably habitation cum factory sites. In some of the other smaller sites, there is evidence to suggest that tools were made. Some of the sites were close to springs. Many tools were made from limestone, which was locally available. So that was all from the chapter 2 of 6th class NCRT.